I never thought I would be the kind of person writing something like this, but here I am trying to make sense of the last year of my life because honestly it still feels unreal. I was engaged to the woman I thought I would marry. Her name does not matter, so I will call her a. We were together for almost 4 years, engaged for 1 and planning a small wedding, nothing too fancy, just close family and friends. We had already booked a venue and paid deposits. Our families had met multiple times. Everything looked stable from the outside. I trusted her completely, maybe too much. About 8 months ago, she started a new job at a marketing firm. At first, I was excited for her. She had been looking for something better for months, and this felt like a big step. She talked about her new co-workers, especially one guy. I will call him Ryan. She mentioned him casually at first, like he helped her set up her workstation or he showed her around. Nothing unusual. I am not the jealous type, at least I did not think I was, but slowly his name came up more and more. She would say, Ryan thinks this, Ryan says that. Ryan is so funny. Ryan and I stayed late to finish a project. I remember laughing and saying, wow, sounds like Ryan is your new best friend. She laughed too and said, do not be silly. Something felt off though, and I hated myself for even thinking that. She started guarding her phone more, not in a dramatic way but subtle, like turning it face down on the table, taking it with her even to the bathroom. Once I asked, who keeps texting you so late? And she said, just work stuff, we have deadlines. I wanted to believe her, so I did. One night about 3 months before everything collapsed, she sat me down on the couch and said, we need to talk. Those words never mean anything good. She said she felt confused lately, that she loved me but also felt like she had not explored enough in life, that getting engaged so young maybe rushed things. I was stunned. We were both 27, not teenagers, and we had talked about everything in detail before the engagement. I asked her directly, is this about someone else? She hesitated. That pause told me everything. She said, there is this guy at work, Ryan, and I think I have developed feelings. But I have not done anything wrong, I swear. I just feel confused. I felt like the floor disappeared under me. I asked, what are you saying? She said, maybe we should take a break so I can figure out what I really want. A break after 4 years, after a ring, after wedding plans. I asked her if she would be seeing him during this break. She said, I do not know, I just need space. That was the moment something inside me shut down. I told her, you do not take breaks to test drive someone else. That is not how commitment works. She started crying, saying, I am not trying to hurt you, I just need clarity. I do not want to resent you later. I asked her one simple question. If he did not exist, would you still want this break? She could not answer that. Silence was louder than anything. I told her, I will not compete for my own fiancé. If you want to explore with someone else, then you are free to do that, but I will not be waiting. She looked shocked, like she expected me to beg or fight or promise to change something. Instead, I stood up, went to the bedroom and started packing a bag. She kept following me, saying, you are overreacting. I am not breaking up, I just want a little time, but a break with feelings for another man is a breakup. You just do not want to say it. That night I slept at my brother's place, and the next day I told her we are done. She kept texting saying, you are being dramatic, can we please just talk? I replied once and only once, I do not share the person I plan to marry. After that I blocked her. People think that decision must have been easy. It was not. I felt like my chest was being crushed every second, but I knew that staying would destroy my self-respect. For the next few weeks I heard through mutual friends that she and Ryan were spending a lot of time together, going out for drinks, posting group photos where they were always standing close. She never posted him alone, but it did not take a genius to connect the dots. About a month later I found out they were officially dating. So much for needing clarity. That was the day I made the second biggest decision of my life. I applied for a transfer within my company to another branch in a different city. It was something I had considered before, but never seriously. Now it felt necessary. Every street in my town reminded me of her, every restaurant, every park, every memory. Within 2 months I packed everything, terminated the lease, and left without telling her. I did not post about it. I did not announce it. I just disappeared. The new city felt cold and unfamiliar at first, but it also felt clean, like a fresh page. No shared memories, no accidental run-ins, no whispers from people who knew both of us. For the first time in months I could breathe. I focused on work, joined a gym, started therapy, and slowly started feeling like myself again. Then, 3 months after I moved, I received an email from an unknown address. It was her. She said she had been trying to reach me and that blocking her was immature. She wrote that she made a mistake, that things with Ryan were not what she imagined, that he was not serious, and that he had been talking to multiple women. She said she realized what she lost and that she missed me every day. I stared at the screen for a long time. The same woman who wanted space to explore now wanted stability again. I did not respond. A week later, I got another email, longer, more emotional, saying she had broken up with him, that she was going to therapy, that she understood now how much she hurt me. Still, I did not reply. Then something happened that made me realize this was not going to end quietly. A friend from my old city messaged me asking, why is asking everyone where you moved? I told him I have no idea. He said, she showed up at your old apartment building asking the landlord for your new address. That is when I felt a different kind of unease. It was not heartbreak anymore. It was something closer to fear. I had left to protect my peace, not to be chased, and that was only the beginning. When my friend told me she had gone to my old apartment asking for my new address, I felt something shift inside me. The sadness was still there, but now it was mixed with onez. I had left quietly for a reason. I did not want drama. I did not want closure talks. I did not want to reopen wounds that were finally starting to scar over. I wanted distance instead. It felt like distance was turning into a challenge for her over the next 2 weeks. More messages started reaching me through other people, mutual friends, distant relatives. Even my cousin told me she had called asking if he knew where I moved. Most of them did not tell her anything because honestly they were confused too. When she asked for a break, she acted certain, like she had already chosen a different path. Now suddenly she was desperate. One night, I received a message request on social media from an account with no profile picture. It was her. She wrote, "I know you do not want to talk, but please, just hear me out." I did not open the message fully. I could see enough in the preview to know it was long. I deleted it. The next day she tried again from another account. This time she wrote, "I deserve at least one conversation." That word deserve irritated me more than anything. Where was that sense of what I deserved when she was asking for space to explore another man? He still did not respond. Then things escalated. A week later I got a call from an unknown number. I usually ignore those, but something made me pick up. It was her mother. Her voice sounded tired, softer than I had ever heard it. She said, "Please do not hang up." I stayed silent. She told me she was calling because A was not handling the breakup well, that she barely slept, that she cried constantly, that she kept saying she ruined the best thing in her life. I listened, but I felt strangely detached. Her mother then apologized. She said we should have guided her better. We thought she was just confused. We did not realize she would lose you completely. I did not know what to say to Vit. I respected her parents. They had always been kind to me, but this was not something they could fix. I told her politely that I wished them well, but I needed space. She asked if I would consider meeting it just once for closure. I said no. After that call, I sat in my apartment for a long time staring at the wall. Part of me felt cruel. Another part felt angry. Why was everyone acting like I was responsible for comforting the person who walked away? Weeks passed, and I focused on my routine work, gym, therapy. My therapist asked me something important. If she had not dated him immediately, would you have waited? I thought about it. If she had asked for couples counseling instead of a break, maybe. If she had said, "I am struggling but I choose you," maybe. But she did not. She chose uncertainty over commitment, and I chose self-respect. One Friday evening, about 4 months after I moved, I came home from work and saw something that made my stomach drop. Her car was parked across the street from my building. I recognized it instantly. For a second I thought maybe I was imagining things, but no, it was definitely hers. My hands started shaking. I went inside quickly without looking in that direction and locked my door. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with a notification from an unknown number. I am outside. Can we please talk? I felt anger rising. How did she even find my address? Later, I found out through a mutual friend that she had convinced someone to tell her the city, and from there she apparently searched through social media check-ins and company information until she narrowed it down. That level of effort did not feel romantic. It felt invasive. I did not reply. Another message came. "I drove for hours just to see you. Please do not ignore me." I turned off my phone. About 20 minutes later, there was a knock on my door, slow at first, then louder. I stayed silent. She called my name from outside. Hearing her voice through the door felt surreal, like a ghost from a past life. She kept saying, "I just want 5 minutes." I did not open. Eventually the knocking stopped. I waited another hour before looking through the window. Her car was gone. That night, I barely slept. The next morning there were flowers placed outside my door with a note, "I am sorry, I was stupid, I love you." I threw them away. This was no longer about heartbreak. It was about boundaries. The following week, her father called. Unlike her mother, his tone was firm but respectful. He said, "I will not pressure you, but I need you to know she regrets everything. She understands. She made a mistake." He admitted that when she first mentioned having feelings for her coworker, they had warned her that grass is not greener, but she insisted she needed to experience it. He said, "Sometimes people only understand value after losing it." I replied calmly, "I hope she learns from it." He then said something that stuck with me. "She cannot accept that you moved on without fighting for her." That sentence explained everything. She expected resistance. She expected me to chase to prove something. Instead, I walked away and built a new life, and now that loss of control was driving her crazy. Over the next month, she showed up 2 more times, unannounced each time. I refused to open the door. The second time, she left a long handwritten letter under my door describing how Ryan, who had never truly committed, how he flirted openly, how he said he was not ready for something serious. Reading that letter, I felt no satisfaction, only clarity. She thought she was upgrading and instead found instability. Now she wanted the safe option back, but I was no longer that option. I changed my number after the 3rd surprise visit. I also informed my building manager not to allow anyone asking for me inside. I felt guilty taking these measures, like I was treating her as a threat, but her behavior left me no choice. One evening, about 6 months after I left, I received an email from her again. This time not emotional, not dramatic. It simply said, "I am coming back next weekend and I will wait until you speak to me." That was when I realized this was not going to fade away on its own, and I knew I would have to make a decision, not just about ignoring her but about protecting my peace permanently. because what started as a break had turned into something much darker, and I was not sure how far she was willing to go. When I read her email saying she would come back and wait until I spoke to her, I felt something heavier than anger. It was exhaustion. I had already ended the relationship months ago in my mind, and in reality, yet somehow I was still being pulled back into the emotional storm she created. That weekend, I did not stay home. I packed a small bag and went to stay with a co-worker who lived across town. I told him the basic version that an ex was not respecting boundaries, and I needed a quiet place for a few days. He did not ask many questions, just handed me a spare key and said, "Take your time." On Saturday afternoon, my building manager texted me, "Your friend is here again." Friend, that word almost made me laugh. Apparently, she had been sitting in her car outside since morning, then tried to wait in the lobby, claiming she was my fiancé and needed to speak with me. The manager told her I was not available and that she needed to leave the premises. She argued at first, then finally left. Later that evening, I received another email. "I know you are avoiding me. I just want one real conversation face to face. I am not leaving until you give me that." I stared at the message and felt a strange mix of pity and frustration. This was the same person who once said she needed space. Now she could not handle distance for a moment. I considered meeting her in a public place, just to end this once and for all. But my therapist had warned me about something. Do not engage if the other person is seeking validation through reaction. Silence can sometimes say more than words, so I stayed silent. On Sunday, she posted a long message on social media about losing someone because of selfish choices and learning the hard way what love really means. She did not mention my name, but anyone who knew us could connect the dots. Friends started messaging me asking if I had seen it. I ignored those two. I refused to let her rewrite the narrative into some tragic romance story. She asked for a break to explore another man. I chose to leave. That was the truth. By Monday, she had returned to her old city, but the behavior did not stop. Instead, it shifted. She began contacting my colleagues through professional networking sites. Under the excuse of industry connections, one of them approached me and said, "Hey, your ex reached out asking about you. Is everything okay?" That was the first time I felt genuinely angry, not just hurt or tired, but angry. This was my work, my fresh, to start my safe space. I drafted a clear message and sent it to her email. "This will be the only time I respond. Do not contact me again. Do not come to my home. Do not reach out to my coworkers or friends. We are no longer together and there is nothing left to discuss. I wish you well, but you need to respect my boundaries." I hesitated before pressing send because I knew breaking silence might fuel her, but I also knew I needed to state it clearly. Within minutes, she replied, "Thank you for answering. I knew you still cared enough to respond." That sentence confirmed everything to her. Even a boundary was hope. I did not reply again. For about 3 weeks, things were quiet. I almost allowed myself to relax. Then, one evening, as I was leaving the gym, I saw her standing near the entrance. My chest tightened. She must have followed me from work or waited there randomly. I still do not know. She walked toward me slowly, not dramatic, not crying, just calm. "Please, just listen," she said. I told her this is not okay, she said. "I know I messed up. I was stupid. I thought I needed excitement. I thought maybe I was settling too early. But the moment you left, I realized you were the only stable thing in my life." I asked her one question: if he had treated you well, would you be here right now? She froze. That hesitation again. It was small, but it was there. She tried to answer by saying, "It does not matter what could have happened. I am here now." But it did matter. It mattered because it showed her regret was tied to disappointment, not loyalty. I told her, "You did not lose me because you were confused. You lost me because you were willing to risk us for someone else." She started crying, saying, "People make mistakes. Relationships survive worse things." I said, "Relationships survive when both people protect them, not when one person tests alternatives." People around us were staring, so I stepped back and said, "This conversation is over." She asked if there was truly zero chance. I said yes. That was the first time I had spoken the word so firmly. Zero. She looked at me like she did not recognize me. Maybe she did not. The version of me who would have begged or negotiated was gone. After that encounter, she stopped showing up physically, but something else started. Fake accounts began viewing my social media stories daily. If I posted a picture at a cafe, she would coincidentally post from a similar place in her city with captions about healing and growth. It felt like she was trying to stay connected. Invisibly, I tightened my privacy settings, removed unknown followers, and limited what I shared. Her parents reached out one more time, this time through a long email. They apologized again, said they were ashamed of how things unfolded and that they had advised her to move on and focus on self-improvement. They also asked if I could at least forgive her in my heart so she could have closure. That request was different. "Forgiveness does not require conversation," I wrote back politely. "I hold no anger, but I cannot reopen the door. I hope she finds peace." After that, her parents did not contact me again. Months passed. Work was going well. I earned a promotion, started mentoring a junior colleague, made new friends, even went on a few casual dates. Nothing serious, but enough to remind myself that life continues. Then one night, almost a year after the breakup, I received a message from an unknown number. It was simple: "I am moving to your city." That was the moment I realized this story was not finished yet, because coincidence has limits, and I was beginning to question whether this was love, regret, or something much more unhealthy. And I knew if she truly relocated here, things would escalate beyond awkward encounters. They would become impossible to ignore. When she texted that she was moving to my city, I did not feel shock anymore. I felt a strange kind of clarity. Up until that point, part of me had hoped her behavior was temporary grief, maybe guilt, maybe pride, refusing to accept rejection. But relocating to the same city almost a year later was not impulse, it was deliberate. I did not respond to the message. Instead, I saved screenshots of everything: emails, texts, unknown accounts showing up repeatedly at my gym, my apartment, my workplace connections. I had avoided thinking about legal measures because I did not want to turn a failed engagement into something that serious. But I also refused to keep living in quiet anxiety. 2 weeks later, a mutual friend confirmed it. She had accepted a job offer in my city. Apparently, she told people she wanted a fresh start and new opportunities. No one mentioned my name, but everyone knew. I considered moving again for one night. I actually searched other branches within my company in different cities. But then I stopped. Why should I keep running? This was my life now, my home, my progress. I was done adjusting my world around her choices. When she arrived, she did not contact me immediately. That silence almost felt more unsettling than the constant messages before. About a month passed with no direct attempt. Then one evening I was leaving work and saw her standing across the street again. Different settings, same pattern. She did not approach right away. She just stood there watching. I walked past without acknowledging her. She followed at a distance, not close enough to touch, close enough to feel. Finally, I turned around and said, "This has to stop." She looked thinner, tired, but determined. She said, "I moved here for myself, not just for you." I replied, "Then live your life and let me live mine." She said, "I am trying, but you are everywhere." That statement almost made me laugh. I had been here first. She chose to enter my space. She said, "Can we at least try to be friends after everything?" I told her no. She asked if there was someone else. I said, "That is not your concern." She started crying again, but quieter this time, not dramatic, just exhausted tears. She said, "I ruined the only good thing I had and I cannot accept that it is over." I told her acceptance is not optional. Reality does not change because we resist it for the first time. She did not argue. She just stood there silently. Then she said, "I thought if I proved I was willing to fight for you, you would see how much I care." That sentence hit me differently. Fights. She had wanted a fight from the beginning. When she asked for a break, she expected me to chase. When I moved, she expected me to come back. When I ignored, she escalated to her love equaled pursuit drama. Meant value, but I had chosen calm over chaos. I said something I had been holding in for months. "You did not want me until I stopped wanting you." Her face changed, not anger, not denial, just realization. I continued, "You wanted reassurance that I would always be there no matter what choice you made. But I am not a backup plan," she whispered. I know that was new. No excuses, no blaming, confusion, just 2 words. I told her, "Moving here does not reset what happened. You broke trust in a way that cannot be undone. Even if you never touched him emotionally, you left our relationship to explore something else. I cannot build a marriage on that foundation." She asked if therapy would change my mind. I said therapy is for growth, not persuasion. She looked down and said, "I am in therapy. I hope you continue." I replied. We stood there for what felt like a long time. Then she asked one final question. "Did you ever regret leaving?" I answered honestly. "I regretted losing who I thought you were, but I do not regret choosing myself." She nodded slowly. That night she did not follow me over the next few weeks. I noticed she stopped showing up physically. No car outside, no gym appearances, no random sightings. Then I received one last email. It was different from the others. No emotional paragraphs, no dramatic apologies, just simple sentences. "I am sorry for crossing boundaries. I understand now that I was trying to undo my mistake by forcing proximity. I see that it only pushed you further away. I will not contact you again. I truly hope you are happy." I read it twice. Part of me expected another hidden hook, a subtle request to meet one last time, but there was nothing. I did not respond. A month passed, then 2, then 3. No unknown accounts, no surprise encounters, no calls from her parents. Silence, real silence in that quiet space. I finally processed everything, not the chaos, not the stalking, but the original moment on the couch. When she said she felt confused, I realized something important. It was never about Ryan specifically. It was about her wanting reassurance that she could step away and still be chosen. And when I did not chase her, she could not accept losing that validation. Her moving here was not about love. It was about unfinished ego. But people can grow, and maybe she finally understood that love is not proven through pursuit after betrayal. It is protected before. One afternoon I ran into her unexpectedly at a grocery store. No dramatic music, no tears, just 2 adults standing in the same aisle. She looked healthier, calmer. She gave a small nod. I nodded back, no words, and for the first time it did not feel heavy. It felt neutral. Later that evening I realized something. I was not afraid anymore, not angry, not tempted, just then the chapter that once consumed my life had finally lost its grip. But there was still one conversation left to have, not with her but with myself, because closure is not given by the person who hurt you, it is built internally, and I was finally ready to decide what that meant for my future. Running into her at the grocery store should have felt dramatic. In another version of my life maybe it would have, but instead it felt ordinary. To people who once planned forever, now silently acknowledging that forever had changed. That night I sat in my apartment thinking about everything from the beginning to now: the engagement, the break, the move, the stalking, her parents apologizing, her relocating, the final quiet nod in a grocery aisle, and I realized something I had not fully admitted to myself before: I was not heartbroken anymore. What I had been holding on to for months was not love. It was the memory of who I thought she was. There is a difference when she asked for a break because of another man. That was the moment the relationship ended. Everything after that was just emotional debris. For a long time I questioned myself. Was I too harsh? Should I have fought? Should I have at least tried couples therapy? But every time I revisited that night on the couch, one detail stood out. When I asked if he did not exist, would you still want a break? She could not answer. That silence was my answer. Love does not hesitate when asked if it chooses you. Over the next few weeks, I focused inward. Therapy sessions shifted from processing betrayal to examining patterns. Why did I stay so calm? Why did I walk away instead of trying to fix it? My therapist said something that stayed with me. You did not leave because you did not care. You left because you cared about yourself. To that distinction mattered. I had spent years believing love meant endurance, working through everything, never giving up. But there is a difference between working through hardship and accepting disrespect. She did not cheat physically, as far as I know, but emotionally she stepped out. She wanted to see what else was out there while keeping me as a safety net. And when the alternative failed, she tried to return, not because our foundation was strong, but because it was familiar. That realization removed the last bit of guilt I had been carrying. About 6 months after the grocery store encounter, I heard through a mutual friend that she was seeing someone new. This time she was taking things slowly. No engagement talks, no dramatic declarations, just dating. When I heard that, I felt nothing negative, no jealousy, no resentment, just neutrality. And that neutrality was freedom. Around the same time I started seeing someone to her. Name does not matter. What matters is how different it felt. There were no games, no testing, no dramatic swings. If something felt off, we talked about it. If one of us felt insecure, we addressed it. No breaks, no exploring other options, just two adults choosing each other daily. One evening, while sitting on my balcony, I thought about the version of me from a year ago. The guy who packed a bag and left without screaming or begging. At the time I wondered if I was being cold. Now I understand I was being clear about my boundaries, clear about my worth, clear about what I would not tolerate. Her parents reached out one last time almost a year after she moved, not to apologize again, but to tell me they appreciated how I handled everything. They said the experience forced their daughter to confront parts of herself she had ignored: impulsiveness, fear of commitment, need for validation. They told me she no longer spoke about getting back together. She had accepted it. I thanked them politely and wished their family well, and that was truly the final contact. No more emails, no surprise encounters, no second chances. Just two separate lives moving forward. Sometimes people ask me if I would have preferred she cheated physically instead of asking for a break. My answer is no, because the break revealed her mindset. It showed that when faced with temptation, her instinct was not to protect us but to explore. And that is not something I could build a lifetime on. Do I hate her? No, I do not think she is evil. I think she was immature. I think she wanted reassurance that she could leave and still be chased. When I did not chase, she spiraled. When I moved, she panicked. When I ignored, she escalated. But eventually even she had to confront reality. You cannot undo a choice simply because the outcome disappoints you. If I had taken her back, what would I be teaching myself? That my boundaries are flexible, that I will tolerate emotional uncertainty, that I am an option. Instead, I chose something harder in the short term and healthier in the long term. Peace. About a month ago, I saw her again by coincidence at a coffee shop. This time she was sitting with someone else laughing. She looked genuinely relaxed. She noticed me, and for a second our eyes met. No tension, no longing, just recognition. She gave a small smile, not hopeful, not sad, just polite. I nodded and continued walking, and that was it. No dramatic ending, no revenge, no grand reconciliation, just a people who learned something the hard way. For me, the lesson was simple. If someone needs to lose you to understand your value, let them. Understanding that comes too late for you. For her, maybe the lesson was that breaks are not pause buttons. When you step away from commitment, you risk losing it permanently. Life is quieter now, healthier, more intentional. I do not check her social media. I do not ask mutual friends for updates. Her story is no longer my responsibility, and mine is no longer hers. Sometimes the strongest move is not fighting, not proving, not convincing, but walking away and meaning it. So that is where this ends. Not with reconciliation, not with bitterness, but with clarity. She asked for a break because of a new guy. I gave her permanent space. She tried to come back. Her parents apologized. She followed me to a new city, and I still refused, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Now I am building something new with someone who does not need to explore alternatives to appreciate what is in front of her, and for the first time in a long time, that feels steady, that feels right, that feels like peace. If you were in my position, would you have handled it differently, or is walking away sometimes the only real choice? Is someone you were about to marry asked for a break because they had feelings for someone else? Would you wait and fight for them, or would you walk away for good? What would you have done in this situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you believe self-respect is more important than second chances, hit the like button. Do you think she truly changed, or just couldn't handle rejection? Subscribe for more real Reddit relationship drama and powerful life lessons. Share this with someone who needs to remember their worth. Would you have given her another chance? Or was walking away the only right move?